Good morning, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Bubba here on Monday, November 11th. Stand by for commentary. Well, Americans, here we are on November 11th. Veterans Day, huh? Well, here's a special commentary on Veterans Day. Well, Veterans Day, originally was called Armistice Day for the 11th uh, hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. 11/11/18 of 1918, that is. World War One's armistice. It wasn't the Versailles Treaty, it was just the armistice. And a lot of countries still refer to it as that. Some of them, like Canada, celebrate it as Remembrance Day. Or in 1954, the United States changed it to Veterans Day. And what is a veteran? Well, a veteran is a person who is honorably discharged from the military. It doesn't mean that he fought in any war. It just means that he's honorably discharged and he served in the military services. Uh, and most people say, but why do we need Veterans Day when we got Memorial Day? Memorial Day celebrates the guys that didn't come home from wars. That is a different celebration altogether. And other people say, but in May we also have Armed Forces Day. Well, that's true. That's a quasi holiday, not a federal holiday, but it's celebrated by the U.S. military services. I don't think any state has celebrated those either. Uh, and you also had Confederate Memorial Day too. Remember, back April 30th used to be one of those. Anyway, uh, but the Veterans Day. And what is a veteran? Well, unlike most Americans who have one life and they go from A, born, to B, dead, veterans have 2, 3, and 4 lives. And that's the problem with veterans. And you say, what do you mean by that? Well, you have a life that you come in, you become a kid, you become a grown up, you do whatever you want, and next thing you know, you're 65 and kick the bucket, right? Yeah. A veteran, on the other hand, has the same life you had when you started with. They're all kids, the same. All of you are equal on the life, that is. Except that when he enlists in a services, no matter which one he picks, he spends some time there. And he becomes a different person. He ceases to be the person he was, and he becomes a different person. Now, for the most part, if you don't have a war going on, that's okay. But if you have a war going on, that person changes because he gets sent to combat in very dangerous situations. And he gets changed by the military. They want him to be a totally different person than he was when he enlisted. So that's the second life. The third life is when he gets out of service, discharged, or as most people would say, forgotten, because that's what they are. Then he enters his third life, trying to readjust to civilian life, as they call it. That's what the government says. Which means you're trying to go back and see who you were before. And 99% of the time, you can't be that guy because of your second life. So you have an adjustment you have to make. Try to get at least to 60% of that guy you were. You can't get any more than that. Trust me. I've been there. And your relatives, and you specifically if you had a significant other when you went in, and she's still there waiting for you when you came back, and that's a big if, she has to adjust to you. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, and sometimes, well, bye-bye is the problem. And sometimes it's you. you have been damaged over there on your second life, so your third life becomes a fourth life. The life of the streets, the life of forgottenness, the life of jail. The forgotten veterans, and there's a lot of them. Of all the veterans, I would say 30% come back to some sort of an adjustment to civilian life. Another 30% can't get adjusted. And the last 40% end up in the streets forgotten forever. Big time, by family, country, and friends. That, Americans, is what a veteran is. Unfortunately. So when you celebrate today with your bands and your music and your uniforms and everybody parading their medals, a true veterans wouldn't do that. They want to be that part of your life private. At least most of the veterans that I've spoken to would prefer that. We do. And don't forget about the 40%, the forgotten ones, the ones that are out there on the streets, which the police will kick around and people would spit on them. Oh, we don't like the homeless. Yeah. Don't forget about them, huh? And the government forgets them. Don't forget about the VA treating the veterans bad, too. This is the sad case of the veterans. The forgotten ones. And then, will they ever be forgotten? Well, veterans were never really remembered up until recently. The Vietnam veterans went through a stretch where everybody used to spit on them on the street. The World War II veterans were the first ones that ever meant something. Everybody forgot about the Korean veterans until recently. And World War I veterans, they tried to get themselves heard. And what did they get? They got a sit-in over at the Washington Monument in 1932. And President Hoover ordered General MacArthur to go with the horses over there and throw that tent city out. So see what I mean about the veterans? Oh, and one last thought, Americans. There is one person living that still collects a Civil War pension. Well, now you know veterans. This is your favorite alien, and Bubba. Good day.